Time is just gone 8:22 a.m. as we kick off this morning, taking a look at an event at the Witwatersrand University. We are talking about the screening of the film Farha, and we're talking with independent film and media and theatre producer Firdaus Bulbulya. Firdaus, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Kasi, thank you very much.
Yes, wonderful that you're able to join us this morning. Now, this is very, very interesting. In fact, personally, I have seen this film, Farha, as well, and looking at the event that is taking place at the University of Witwatersrand from the 28th of July to the 5th of August, and we are also led to believe that the movie director Darin Sallam and the producers Ayah, Jardaneh, and Deema Azar are in Johannesburg with the screening of this movie. And clearly, this movie has generated a lot of interest, but also at the same time, it has exposed a lot with regard to children in particular. And there's huge reference to the annual Nelson Mandela Children's Festival. Which obviously over the next few weeks, or from the 28th of July to the 5th of August, will consist of a range of screenings, events as well. And this film, Farha, is relevant, at with events like these that are being hosted for us. Oh, sorry, Firdaus.
Yes, absolutely. Hello.
Yes, okay, Firdaus, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much. I chair the Children's Broadcasting Foundation for Africa, and we host the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival. And you are correct that we have invited the director and the producers of the film Farha, which is an important film, I think, considering South Africa's context, both in terms of apartheid, but also prior issues around censorship. And our focus is on children, and the film, as you said, you have seen, has as its main subject a 14-year-old girl. So I think a focus on the girl child was also an important part of our choice in terms of Farha.
Yes. Now, looking at the relevance of hosting or screening this film at a time like this, and we know not very long ago the 75 years of the Nakba celebrations had taken place right across the entire world, including South Africa, and looking at a 14-year-old child, and we know that many 14-year-old children go through a lot of challenges right across the entire world, and looking at events in their life, or that become life-changing experiences. And this was the case with Farah as well, where we've seen buried in a tight, dark space, her only connection to the outside world, a small hole in the wall, cracks in the wooden floor. And really, obviously that is extremely important to understand that, young children are actually subjected to a lot that sometimes we or the world is not aware of.
Recent past of the 1976 uprisings in our country, when young children determined the future of South Africa. My political awakening was as a 13-year-old child, listening on the radio about what was happening in Soweto. I became a student activist myself, and at high school in Matric, I was detained as John Forster. So the relevance of what children are going through and the stresses that young people endure are evident globally. And one would have hoped that, 30 years into our democracy, that would have changed, but it hasn't. The focus for us is really on filmmaking, and the directors and producers are here to talk to young filmmakers about tackling important issues such as the Nakba in this case. But how do you do it as part of a storytelling? How do you engage with an audience where you don't lecture to them and you don't make them afraid, but you really engage with them and you have them join you on this journey of the story of the 14-year-old? And I think this is important even for us as storytellers and as filmmakers, is that we use the creative industries to connect with our audience, to talk about important issues. And we do it sometimes in an edutainment way, where there is education and entertainment. And sometimes it just seems that it's entertainment, but there are subliminal messages. And in this Farha, overwhelmed me. I saw it at the Sharjah International Film Festival late last year, and I knew that this was a film that I needed to bring to South Africa.
Well, definitely, and also for those, it's all about looking at someone who was passionate about children, the legacy of Madiba, the legacy that was left behind by Nelson Mandela, and looking at him as an inspiration. He was obviously passionate about the youth. He was passionate about supporting children. He was passionate about nurturing youth to become the leaders of tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. As you know, Madiba started the Nelson Mandela Fund for Children, and that was during his presidency because he really wanted to focus on uplifting children in South Africa in particular, but generally. We started the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival in 2018 as part of a legacy project recognizing and celebrating the centenary of Madiba. We had worked with Mandela for many years, and as the Children and Broadcasting Foundation for Africa, we have a charter on children's broadcasting, and we like to quote Article 4 of the charter that says children should hear, see, and express themselves, their languages, and their life experiences through the electronic media that reaffirms their sense of self, community, and place. And I think for you as Sallam Media, it would also be wonderful if you have somehow, in your programming, a thought around children and youth. We find that even though we started in 1993, 94, around children's media, there is still a lack of understanding of the global reach that media has, but also that media literacy is so important. And given fake news and the way that the world is going right now, we're preparing for an election. We know about load shedding. We know about potholes. How do we break this down in bite sizes to younger audiences? I think we have a responsibility as media professionals to consider the child in all of the work that we do.
Well, Fidos, I think what you've said is extremely important. And, when I look at Salah Media, we are in the humanitarian journalism space. And children, yeah, especially when one looks at humanitarian atrocities that are committed right across the entire world, particularly against children who are most vulnerable. I think it's extremely relevant, and this is a comment that we clearly take note of the suggestion that you had made, and I'm sure we at Salam Media will take note of this as independent media to obviously look deeper into some of these suggestions, and more importantly, to do something about it. Now, let's just talk a bit about the program. Now, I know that there are screenings taking place in Gauteng, in KwaZulu-Natal, and in the Western Cape. Just to understand, for the benefit of the public as well, in what format are these screenings taking place? I believe that there are also some workshops.
So today, this afternoon, we have an interaction at the university where we would have a screening and also a masterclass with the director and the producers. And then in Cape Town on the 2nd of August, there's a screening at AFTA, and then also one with the Palestinian Solidarity Committee. So they are hosting an event. What we wanted to be very clear about is that we brought these people out as filmmakers, and our focus is on film and film production. But the content is really important, and we know that different sectors of society will therefore also be interested in the content. Given South Africa's relationship with Palestine, it is important that we highlight this. Yesterday, the Palestinian ambassador, Hanan, took us all out for lunch, which was fantastic. She sent a car to pick the team up from the airport. So it just shows the solidarity between South Africa and Palestine, and that has been fantastic. The master classes are important in terms of storytelling and production, and then the general discussions are to talk about, the context and the content of the film.
Well, certainly, and also I think just not very long ago, Salam Media had the opportunity of hosting an archaeologist from Jerusalem to South Africa, Abir Zayad, and one of the initiatives that we had taken is to take Abir Zayad into schools, into various schools, exposing her to learners right across the entire country, and that alone in itself highlighted the fact that there is a huge need, there is a huge requirement for educating our youth, to teach our children to understand what is actually taking place in Palestine, and more importantly, as far as the children and the youth of Palestine are concerned. So that is just one initiative, but that is an area that we've identified that this is going to be an ongoing education of our youth. Obviously, screenings like these assist and go a long way in making sure that children across the entire world and people across the entire world are educated and are informed as to what is actually taking place and playing out in Palestine.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I've just been to Palestine during Ramadan. We were very lucky. It was part of us going on this journey to Palestine and then to Jordan, because the filmmakers, although they have Palestinian roots, are based in Jordan. I think what is important, though, as we tell the story, is to recognize that people live under stressful conditions, but they live. So there's life, there's happening, there's school, there are parties, there's engagements, there are weddings, there are celebrations, because somehow people also tend to only look at the dark, negative side of what is happening. And Palestinians will tell you we are fully rounded. They are every facet of our lives. And so don't only concentrate on what is negative. Concentrate on who we are as a people. Concentrate on our celebrations as well. And yesterday when we were talking about this, it came up again in conversation where people were saying, South Africa after dark is really a ghost town because we're not in the streets, we're not celebrating. So when you are in Palestine during Ramadan, it's actually a festivity. And people are enjoying their lives, notwithstanding the stress and the trauma of what is going on around them. And I think it is important that as we tell children these stories, that we realize and we recognize that children are playing in the streets. There's all kinds of festivity happening. The youth are revving their cars, they are driving like crazy. People are doing their hair, people are getting dressed up. So a celebration of this is taking place under a very dark cloud, but they're not allowing that cloud to dampen their lives. And as
Well,
South Africans, we know that under the deepest, darkest period of apartheid, we were living. Life was happening. People were celebrating. And we need to celebrate more the achievements of people and the lives of people under these difficult conditions.
Well, definitely. In fact, you talk of celebrating the achievements of people, and just last week we covered the story of Gaza with the high school results that basically come out, and 120 learners that had achieved in excess of 99%. And that was, despite all the negativity, and as you mentioned, despite all the adverse conditions that they are exposed to, they still have got all these achievements that need to be celebrated. But Fidos, definitely we take note of what you said. We take note of some of the issues that have come out of this discussion with you this morning. We wish you well, and we thank you once again. We appreciate your time with us right here on Salam Media this morning.
Thank you so much. And I just want to share that if you are interested to talk to the director or the producers at any point, please feel free to call us. They are with us right through until the 3rd of August.
Perfect. We definitely will pass that information on to our producers as well. All the best to you, Farah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Sirjo. Salam.
Firdaus Bulbulia with us this morning. And with that, we're going to go for a break. We come back. We will be joined by Amma Bungani's Executive Director, Sam Soul, right of reply. And this was in response to the conversation I had with Junaid Moti during the week on a Wednesday night.